And we're live. Hi everyone, welcome to another instalment of Train Your Dog Month. I'm Katrina Firth from the APDT, and tonight I'm joined by Kat Williams of Dogworthy Behaviour and Training, based in West London. Hi Kat.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great, how are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
Perfect. Can everyone hear us, see us? Usual checks. Pop a little
Mhm.
thumbs up, leave a little comment in the chat. Feel free to put your questions to Kat in the comments, and we will come to them either if it's clarifying something as we go through, or if it's something a bit more in depth, we'll get that on at the end. So, Kat, you're going to be talking to us about how to have a nice family dog. Why don't you
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
give us a little overview of what people can expect to hear about tonight?
Sure, okay. So I've been training puppies and families to train their puppies, I suppose, for a good few years now. Lots of trainers have a speciality, and I think my speciality would be honestly helping people raise dogs that fit in with their families and are what they want them to be. So I've got three main topics of ways to help your dog be a decent part of your family. So I guess if we look at what I mean by that, first of all, thinking about your family, I don't necessarily mean 2.4 children. This isn't a family children centered talk. This is for general owners. This could apply to a single person, a couple, people with lots of kids. Um, yes, you do definitely need special consideration when we're talking about dogs with children. And there are lots of really good organisations out there. I know some APDT members run and support some really good organisations, and specialist care with children is definitely needed. But for example, couples might need to consider what would happen if, God forbid, if they split up. I know it's not something you want to think about, but a couple's needs will be very different from a family's needs in terms of what they want from their dog. And a single person as well, they might need to consider a breed or a type or an age of dog that would be happier to be left on their own when they have to go to work or when they have to be away. People that don't have an extended family that look after their dogs, that's going to be a different consideration from people that do. Um, and then when we're talking about what makes a great family pet, I suppose that has to be defined by you. Greatness is defined by you. You need to have a good think about what you want from your dog. So, what does it look like? So, for me, I'm a dog trainer. My needs might be slightly different from other people's. I need a dog that generally is going to get on with um, other dogs, my own dogs. So, I have dogs, they need to be happy with my incumbent dogs. My priority is always my existing dogs, if I'm completely honest. Um, so I definitely need dogs that will get on with them. I do have a family as well, but I need dogs that are hopefully going to be sociable. Um, I want to be increasing the odds that my dogs will get on with other dogs and other people and other dog and be fantastic. But you can't always legislate for everything. So sometimes you get the dog you need, not the dog you want. My last dog, for example, I wanted a dog that was going to be my next potential competition obediency, love of training dog. He is the biggest cuddle monster I've ever had. I am not complaining. He gets on with everybody, but in a different way. So I'm happy with that. So Katrina, what would be considerations for you getting a dog yourself in your family situation? Hey Katrina, I can't hear you. Is it me? Hey,
No,
there we go.
I was on mute. I'm so sorry, everyone.
I
Um,
was thinking it was me. I was checking everything.
it happens. So for me, having a small dog that
Mhm.
I can take upstairs with me easily. For a puppy, toilet training a breed larger than I can carry up and down the stairs is going to be a consideration because I don't have a
Yeah.
garden. So toilet training in a flat when you've got a large breed and you're having to carry a Labrador or a Dalmatian or something up and down the stairs until they're 9, 10 months old sometimes, that's not going to be something that I'm looking for. So yeah, I tend to go for small. Can go in a bag so that they're safe on the underground. I've got a 10 kilo dog now. She can just about go in a bag and she's all right with that. So nothing above 10 kilos. And that's my, I like to go walking, but I wouldn't say I'm a runner, certainly not. And I will not be doing 3 hours exercise a day with any dog. But certainly not with my lifestyle now. So yeah, I like a city dog, that's my thing. Yeah.
Urban warrior.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so all of the advice I'm giving, I think you have to consider all of the factors that make a dog and personality and a great family dog. Now, all we can do is increase the odds of this happening. So just like I went out and I did my best to select a dog that would be right for me, wasn't quite what I had hoped for, but thankfully, he's fantastic. My latest dog. So what I'm advising, all of the little bits and tidbits that I'm giving you now, are increasing the odds that you're going to have a good family dog. But I guess we have to have contingencies in case the dog is different. So some of the tips I'm giving you are about almost prophylaxis, so stopping a problem from becoming too big and too unmanageable too quickly, preventing problems in the future, that kind of thing. So when we're thinking about what makes our dog in the first place, it's not just what we're doing now. You've got a whole array of factors: genetics, physiology, early life experiences through life, family situational changes, health changes in dogs and owners, and that all important individual difference. You can have in humans, if anyone's got a brother or a sister, or even, God forbid, a twin, if you were brought up in exactly the same way, it doesn't mean that you're the same. So no matter what we do, we have to accept that our dogs are still going to be individuals and legislate for that, I suppose. So part of the reason why I'm quite keen to get it right in the first place is because currently there are 250 million dogs surrendered into, sorry, 250,000, I've written that wrong. 250,000 dogs, so 250,000 dogs going into rescue at the moment. Yes, COVID has definitely affected that factor, but the proportion isn't much greater of dogs that have been bought. It's just there are a lot more dogs bought and rescue can't cope. So the more we can get it right to start with, the less we're going to put pressure on rescues, and the more dogs are going to have a happy home, and the more people are going to have awesome dogs. So my first tip is get the right dog to start with. When I first started writing these tips, I could have just written, get the right dog to start with. Then tip 2, get the right dog to start with. Tip 3, and so on. Because it is the ultimate factor. It's increasing those odds, as we talked about, of getting a dog that's going to fit in with your life. So this isn't applicable to everybody, because we might be talking about a dog you already have. And there are lots of other fantastic talks that will help you with that. And we're talking a little bit more about maybe how to help the dog you've got already later in our talk. But hold on, there's lots for you as well. So factors to consider. I could do my entire talk on what dog to get. The first thing to think about is the breed or breed type. So not necessarily a purebred dog, but the breed type that we're looking at. Take a good look at your family unit. This sounds awful, but I have honestly met lots of people that have got dogs to try and stick their relationships together. Like I've seen people having babies to try and hold a family together. It's never advised. Please have a good long look at why you want this dog. Is it companionship for the next 14, 20 years? Because that's what hopefully you're looking at if you're lucky enough to keep your dog for that long. It's really important that you don't get a dog to try and change your family. I have lots of consultations with people. They're my favourite type of consultations, but people, before they get their dog, to give them advice on what I think they should get to help them with this process. I know they're going to be the best owners when they plan this much, but when you look at how the things that people say to me, they all say the same things. So they'll say, I'm really active. I want a dog to keep me active. And I'll say, okay, how much exercise, how many times do you go to the gym in a week? Or how much time do you spend walking around your local park or running? And they'll say, oh, this much, but I want it to be more. I want a dog to help me get fit. Now, freely confess, me, as always, made all my January New Year's resolutions. What date is it even now? 20th? Am I still on my diet?
Yep, 20th.
You are. Are you? Are you really still on your
Oh no, I don't diet. No, no.
diet? Oh, I
Life's
thought
too
you might have managed
short.
it.
No,
Yeah,
life's too
true.
short.
Although to be fair, if I keep eating that many donuts, my life is going to be shorter. So that's my thinking on it. But hey, so yeah, please don't get a dog to think it will make things better. It won't. Some of the most miserable dogs I see is working type dogs that are put into homes with children and families that say, yes, we're going to have a dog to make our life to do more exercise. The kind of exercise that you want to do, as in jogging around the park, isn't what your dog wants to do anyway. So make sure that dog is going to fit in with what your life will be like, not what you want your life to be like. That's I think a massively top tip. Being active is subjective. Recently, I've been doing a step count challenge with some of my friends, and I'm really surprised at what some people's normal step count is that they think is really good or really bad. I'm not even going to tell you where I fit in the range, but it's subjective. So what you think is active isn't necessarily what I think is active, or what your dog thinks is active. More to the point, I know a lot of people that say, yes, I'm active. I want to get my working line cocker or cockapoo or Labrador or working gun dog or whatever it is they get, and they say, yes, I would very much like to exercise for I don't know, an hour a day. Oh, these poor dogs, they want so much more than that. Not exaggerating, dogs like that could go for, I don't know, 3-6 hours. It's not necessarily that they have to, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking about a high working drive breed. We're not talking about being really active in the park. Okay, so the next thing to think about is where you get your dog from. If we're talking about getting a puppy, we'll talk about what type of dog to get in a sec, I guess. But if we're talking about a puppy, I could do 3 hours talking on what to look out for in a breeder, or what to not to look out for in a breeder, or what to run away from. The biggest, most salient points I'd like to just cover briefly now is that dog really where you think it's from? Before COVID, so before this explosion of puppies, there was a survey done by a conglomerate of, I think it was Battersea Dogs Trust and what's the other one, FDSc, and they reckoned some crazy high amount of dogs. I swear it was between 60 and 70% of dogs that people bought from sites like Pets for Homes weren't from the breeders that they said they were. So people were bringing dogs into the home, pretending they were bred by whatever dog, and they weren't. They were coming in boxes of flowers from Eastern Europe, or from someone's basement where you just had a load of breeding bitches churning out puppies. And no one that I speak to ever says that's where their dogs came from. When they describe to me where they got their dog from, in the back of their mind, you can see there's always something like a little bit sketchy that they're thinking, maybe I could have checked this. Do you know what? They never did contact me back after, and they said they would, and this kind of thing. So if your gut gives you even the tiniest doubt, I want you to walk away. Now, truthfully, honestly, I don't know if I could. So if I go and see a dog, a puppy, and I see, I don't know, 4 puppies that look a bit flea infested, they don't look in the best health condition, and the people, I'm thinking, yeah, you're not what you said you were, I would want to take all of those dogs there and then and hand over untold amounts of money and say I rescued them. But for every single dog that somebody takes home under those circumstances, and that's fine if that's what you've done, honestly, like I said, I don't think I could walk away. But for every single time you do that, you open the door to how many? 10, 20 more dogs that breeder thinks they're going to be able to sell, and the market is perpetuated. So I do feel quite strongly that if you've got doubts, please walk away. You're not rescuing that dog. You're causing more dogs to suffer if you end up supporting anything you think might be puppy farming. Maybe controversial, don't know. Comes from a place of wanting there to be less dogs struggling, essentially. Okay, so we can talk about health testing for forever as well. If you're going to get a dog, basic, please find out what the health tests should be for that specific breed or breed type. If you're having a mix, it should be the health tests for all of the dogs in the mix that we're testing for. And it's not just sending an embark sample off or a wisdom panel sample off and then saying, oh, look, this dog doesn't have X, Y, and Z. We're talking about the hundreds or thousands of pounds it costs to test for hip dysplasia, elbow dysplasia, PRA, all of these lots and lots of different health conditions. Since COVID, I'm just seeing where I am an epidemic of hip dysplasia and elbow dysplasia in dogs you would have in breeds that you wouldn't imagine it was going to be. Through my work as a behaviourist, I think 80% of the cases I see have a genesis in pain, and even to the point where I find vets just saying, oh yeah, all terriers hop. Yeah, that's a luxating patella, but all terriers will hop like that. Yeah, it's because it hurts them. It's preventable if we think about what we're breeding. So again, please don't support people that don't test fully for their health tests. It's going to help you out in the long run. When you're looking at a 9-month-old Labrador who needs 16 grand worth of hip surgery, and I've got a few clients like that genuinely at the moment, that's a question for yourself that you want really possibly could have avoided to start with. So, okay, another massive thing to think about when we're thinking about what type of dog to get. Do you want a puppy or do you want an adult dog? Only 17% of dogs come from rescue, which I find really surprising, to be honest, because I feel like lots of dogs come from rescue. There is a huge influx of dogs from other countries. That's another controversial topic as to whether or not we should be doing that, but they have their own considerations. And if you're considering getting a dog from abroad, please speak to some people that know about rescue, that haven't used the rescue that you're considering using, because there are lots of rescues that are turning into essentially our industries, potentially breeding dogs and rescuing them over to this country. You might not pay very much, but if you exponentially, the last I think Tuesday I saw a client and their Bulgarian rescue came over with 84 dogs at once. So times the 200 quid he paid to get it over here by 84, that's a lot of dogs and a lot of money for dogs that may well not be able to cope in this environment. So have a really good think if you want a dog that's come from abroad. If you want a rescue, there's pros and cons for rescues. I'm not an adopt, don't shop. I'm not cut me and I bleed rescue. But I do think more so than ever after COVID, there are plenty of good dogs that just need homes that people bought that didn't consider and didn't listen to this talk and didn't get the right dog to start with. There's nothing wrong with those dogs. They were just wrong place, wrong time dogs. And there's more and more and more of them out there in rescue. When we look at the reasons that dogs get surrendered, they're very rarely for aggression, for unpredictability reasons, if people are honest when they surrender them. It's mostly just because they didn't have time, because the dog irritated them. The dog didn't fit in with their family. That's generally what we're seeing. So if that dog will fit in with your family, if you get a rescue, you're more likely to know a lot more about that dog's personality. You're also more likely to know about its health, which is a big one. If you want a healthy dog, buy an older dog, because you'll know what's going to be a lot more what's going to be.
Oh dear, I think we've lost her for a sec. Has everybody else lost Cat just then?
Don't be swayed if you go to a rescue. Do you really want a particular type of dog? Puppy, lot of work. Patrina, can you just tell me if I'm still on here? You've frozen.
Yeah.
It's me.
You sound a bit like a robot. And you've frozen. Stuttering. Yeah, the
I can
comments
just carry on
it's
talking.
a bit...
I don't know if it's you, if it's frozen. Let's have a quick look.
It's not me, it's you. I'm sorry. Because I'm hardwired into the internet, like out the side of my neck most of the time. But no, I'm joking, people. But yeah, I know that my internet's really good. I think your internet's just gone a bit squizzy. Can you hear me? Oh, little sad face reacts. Oh dear, maybe she's going to restart her internet. Can you hear Cat at all? Some people have said can hear, but the image of Cat is frozen. You can hear me. Cat's just left. I think she's going to pop back in. So I'm just going to go through your comments and have a little chat with you while we're killing a bit of time. It's fine. Do you know what? There's a saying called life happens. And it does, because life happens sometimes. Let's see if we can make this not go on to the next screen. It might do. She's back. She should be back in a minute. So, comments. Rachel, yeah. I'm just going through the comments, Kat. Okay. 100% working in vet practice. We saw so many poorly pups from farms. Hey, hi. I'm just going through the comments. Rachel just said we saw so many poorly pups from farms. Some ended up being put to sleep. It was so heartbreaking. Yeah, that sounds about right, unfortunately. Okay, good. Yeah. Do you want to carry on then? Are you good to go?
Sure.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. I think you'd be able to have a decent Zoom call after the pandemic.
That's all right. It's live.
Have I frozen again?
Sometimes.
Fair
We'll
enough.
see.
Good
We'll bear with. Yeah.
Cool. No worries. Good stuff. Okay, so we've covered getting the right dog to start with. The next thing I want to move on to is planning and preparation for everything. That old adage of proper planning prevents piss poor performance really is the key to before you get a dog. So when I have these consultations with clients who, like, before they get their dog, and we plan what we're going to do for the first night, what we're going to do for the journey home from the dog, what you're going to feed it, how your life is going to look when you get it, toilet training. We were just discussing this earlier, that it's really hard to legislate for what it is you like. It's hard to say this advice is for everybody. So no one should let their dog cry out. Everybody should have their dog in their bed. You can't say that because everybody's family is different. But for me, the one overarching piece of advice that I would give any family is whatever you plan, make certain it's something you can follow through. So I have a case in point, my Bull Terrier. I got him from a rescue at 16 weeks and I tried to let him cry it out because I'd done it with dogs previously and it really wasn't a problem. Took him home, put him in his crate, and he loved his crate. He was happy in there. But at night, he would cry and cry and cry. And it got to the point I couldn't cope with it, hubby couldn't cope with it, neighbours couldn't cope with it. So eventually I had to go, I tried lots of things. So we had the crate upstairs, he would cry. We had the crate downstairs, he would cry. I tried sleeping next to the crate, he would cry. And what happened was he learned that if he cried, I'd open the crate because we needed to sleep. And we were walking around like zombies for ages. Now, the damage that caused is still happening now with my 12-year-old Bull Terrier because he's learned a particular pitch of crying or just generally being a very demanding dog will get him what he wants. You know, I know he's a Bull Terrier and he's going to be like that anyway, but I maintain if I had followed through a plan I could have stuck to when we first got him, then he wouldn't have half the problems he has now. So whatever your views are on first night with your puppy, just make sure you can do it. Whenever I hear an owner say, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried the other, well, you never followed through with any of them and any one of them may have worked. So please, please, please keep your expectations realistic about what you can do. The same goes for toilet training and things. You, Petrina, you were talking about carrying 10 kilos of dog up and down the stairs. Oh, I'm not sure I could. If I'm honest, I'm not sure I would have the patience, and I feel like my house training would take a lot longer. So if I lived in a flat, I would be thinking about on the balcony some Astro or something to start off my house training. So I know I'm being realistic. I much prefer it when people house train straight outside from the start, but really, I'm not carrying 10 kilos up and down the frequency that I want my owners to be taking their dogs out for toilet breaks. So being realistic is huge. It's a massive point. With planning as well, like I said, my favourite type of owner and the people that always end up staying with dog training and have the best behaved dogs, those are the people that contacted me before they got their puppies or older dogs or rescues. Not necessarily having consultations about what dog to get, but emailing and saying, oh, you run classes. What kind of classes do you run? Can I come and see one? And having a chat about, maybe I'll use you, maybe I'll use somebody else. It just heartens me, and I know you're going to be fine because you're thinking about it now. So the more research you do, I guess that's another point to do with research about breeds. Please don't believe everything that you read. It's funny, I seem to find breed groups and owners always seem to want to promote their breed. Understandably, they think they're fantastic, I suppose, because they have them. But they tend to gloss over some of the negative sides of their breed, I think. For example, brachycephalic dogs, people aren't telling. People, like breeders, will very rarely tell you the potential pitfalls, the potential health risks with brachy dogs. Owners of I don't know. So, for example, Mallees have become really popular for trainers. They're one of the few breeds, actually, Mallees and Bull Terriers, that I'll see people being honest and realistic that this dog is not for everybody. Breeds like Labradoodles, the amount of clients I have come to me and say, oh, they use these as assistance dogs, they must be amazing. Then think about where you've got that dog from. So that's definitely something to think about. Make sure you're being realistic. If somebody says something in really small writing at the end of their write-up about the dog, it's probably the main point about them. So definitely something to think about. So planning things like training, planning things like dog walkers, planning things like what will happen when you go away. That's a really, really massive thing to be thinking about before you get your dog. Management is not cheating. That fantastic talk by Jane Robinson. If you haven't watched it, go watch it, because I think that's so relevant. Things like, so for me, things like when you first get a puppy, I'm a huge fan of a pen and crate setup, because I don't think, especially where I am, loads of people live in open plan houses, and now everyone works from home as well. We were talking about this earlier, Katrina, about people not ignoring their dogs. They don't actually learn to disengage from the dog, and the dog doesn't learn to disengage from the owner. So you spend all your time saying, oh, puppy's so cute. And your puppy spends all its time saying, oh, if I look cute, I get squitches or a reward. And then you end up with a dog that every time you get up to go and make a cup of tea, the dog comes with you. And it's lovely and gratifying to start with, but it gets a problem when you can't leave the house because your dog is screaming. So a pen and crate setup as management, for example, helps your dog learn to disengage from you, because you are just going to get up and go and make that tea or answer that door or do whatever it is you were going to do. And your dog is, after a while, just going to realise that you come back, it's fine, I will amuse myself, I will do my thing. So your dog will learn to ignore you, and you will learn to ignore your dog. It's not for forever, unless you want it to be. And if you need it later in life, for example, if a couple has a baby and you need somewhere for the dog to be safer, then the dog already knows how to be penned and knows how to be happy. So management is never ever cheating, it's necessary. And the more you do that, the more you're going to set yourself up for success. Another thing to think about is get help early. So when you have your dog or your rescue, have a think about, if you start getting barking and you don't really know why you've got barking, then speak to a trainer as quickly as possible, or get good advice, not necessarily TikTok advice, as soon as you can, because behaviour that is rehearsed is repeated. So things like demand barking, counter surfing, if your dog's doing it now when they're tiny or when you very first get a rescue, it will not suddenly magically resolve. You're going to have to put some training in, maybe management as well, to help your dog not practice it, so that it grows up not learning to perform that behaviour. There are tons of behaviours that young dogs grow out of, but not if they're reinforced when they're young. They just don't grow out of them, they'll carry on. Nipping and biting, poor toilet training, my personal hatred, counter surfing, all of that kind of stuff. It needs to be nipped in the bud, as it were, so that your dog doesn't carry on or learn to live with you or grow up learning to do them. Okay, so your first time with your puppy, your first couple of weeks with your puppy, will be extremely different from your first couple of weeks with your older dog. Now, this last tip is start as you mean to go on. First impressions count. You can't get back your first few days, weeks, months with your puppy or with your rescue dog. And best case scenario, if it all goes wrong, it will take you a long, long time to undo the things you got wrong. Worst case scenario, your dog will grow up anxious, fearful, have separation issues that you can't resolve, and will grow up neurologically formed to have issues. So when you first get your puppy, it's going to be all about socialization. And I just want to say a couple of really quick things about socialization. I think people have got it wrong at the moment. I think people are thinking that socialization is all about other dogs. And I don't want it to be all about other dogs. That's 5 to 10% of what it is that I want to cover. Socialization to me is exposure to different environments in a positive way. That is all. So showing your dog lots of different things and feeling that they're happy and going at their pace. If you're getting a rescue dog or an older dog, or you're rehoming a dog, then everything is the opposite. You're slowing it down. You're making sure the dog's got time to assimilate, time to get used to you, time before you have to go out. So it's essentially the reverse of having a puppy. But yeah, don't forget, those first impressions are really, you can't get them back. So make sure you've planned for what you're going to do from point 2. Cool. And I think that's essentially what I'd like to say.
Great, thank you. Brilliant.
Cool.
Just some comments here in the chat. So Jackie's just said, great talk so far. It's a shame more people don't ask for this help first. I'm working with a few working line dogs in the wrong homes at the moment. Yeah. The lines, the pedigree. Georgia Selby touched on this when she did her talk on gun dogs. She said when she was getting her new dog, she knew what she wanted, and she wanted a hard trialer. You know, she wanted something that was going to go work me. You don't want that in a 3-bedroom semi in Surbiton.
You don't.
You don't.
And my demographic that I teach, to be wildly stereotypical, the demographic of people I teach, they won't mind me saying this because they know I say this with love and I have it myself. They are Land Rover drivers and barber wearers that live in London. So they all have open plan living and kitchen, and they all want working breeds because everybody has them. Not only do they want working breeds, but it's things like the view that I want a working lab because it's smaller. Okay. Okay, that kind of thing. And I lament at the amount of dogs that are going crazy in the wrong homes around where I am. And luckily I have enough owners that step up and recognise that and are digging in for their dogs. I just dread to think about the owners that don't, and the poor dogs are going nuts.
And a little comment from Rachel, which was, wish everyone would get a consultation before getting a puppy. Pre-pup consults were one of my favourite things to do, actually, because you go around there and you give them a little shopping list when you leave of all the things, because if you don't know, you don't know. People don't know, and you're the expert. You're the one that knows it. So it's our job to give them the information and impart the years of knowledge and the money and the studies and everything in about an hour. So getting them sort of right from the start, and you know, many owners, parents, guardians, whatever you want to call them, they're so nervous that they're going to screw their dog up as well, especially new puppy owners, you know, and they want to get everything right. So it's our job to do that. And if we can get them, as I used to do it at a much cheaper rate than I would for a normal training session as well. So that, you know,
I do it free with a package, to be honest. Another good thing about those is it gives me an excuse to go out and buy more puppy equipment to find out if it's any good. So I spend the money so they don't have to.
Does anyone have any questions for Kat? And we will ask her. What dog are you going to get next, Kat? Have you got your eye on any particular breed?
Oh, no, I don't actually. My Onion, my dog is called Onion. He is 18 months old. And I still call him my puppy, and I'm still learning from the puppy head that we had. with him. My other dog that I have currently is 12. So no, we won't be adding any more puppies. I don't think he wanted the puppy to start with. But having the younger dog, young adolescent male, and the older male, both bull breeds, no, currently no more dogs. I like the idea though. My hypothetical dog is going to be a really tiny little dog that I can train to like jump over the other ones and things. But yeah, I've never had a tiny dog, so it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. We haven't got any more comments or questions, so I will just say thank you. Thanks so much for filling us in. When we do the video for YouTube, we will edit it down and no one will ever know you had a problem with your internet. It'll all be fine.
Awesome. That's good to know.
So, yeah, it'll be fine. That just leaves me to say thank you. Is there anything else you want to add about how to have a great family dog?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I want to thank you for putting all this work into 30 days of dog training. That's a lot. You're doing really well with it. Thank you. And also, I guess, big up the APDT. One thing I was going to put in my talk actually was finding the right trainer. It does not involve trawling TikTok. It involves going to the link on the kind of page that you made, even for like advertising my talk today. There's a link to find an APDT trainer. It's really important that you find a decent trainer.
Yeah, and you can just go to apdt.co.uk and you'll find the Find a Member on the front page. So yeah, it's easy to find an APDT member on our website.
Great.
Just some nice comments to finish you off. A little bit of positive reinforcement because we like that. Philip, hi Kat. Little Tony says hi. I don't know. I'm just being rude.
Genuinely, no, genuinely. Tony is, did he say little Tony? Because Tony isn't that little. He's an Aussie that I teach.
Okay.
And he's fab.
Yeah. And then, yeah, just some thanks so much, Kat. Thank you. Really enjoyable from Sue. Phil says you're a great trainer. Sorry, amazing trainer. I've got a good little...
I love it.
Yeah, so I'll just say thank you so much for coming, and just to let everyone else know that tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, same time, I'll be here. Will you be here? We've got APDT member Rizia Robertson from the wilds of Scotland, and she's coming to... She won't mind that I say that because she literally lives in like the wilderness. Beautiful.
Wow.
She's going to be talking to us about multi-dog households and the fun that she's had with her Tibetan Mastiff. So if that's a breed that you're interested, they're an unusual one. Yeah, she's got multi-dog house. So I will see you all tomorrow.
Awesome.
Thanks then. Bye.
Bye.